Welcome back to the first episode of the second season of this podcast that I'm trying to do for the Central District of the NJCAA. Last year, it just got really boring with me just being a talking head and rattling off stats. Hopefully this year is going to be a lot better, and I can already guarantee that it's going to be a lot better because for my first episode, first guest of the year is going to be not only a close friend, a mentor, and somebody who gave me a chance to really experience what the Central Division is all about. Assistant coach for the Vincennes Trailblazers, Brian Davis. Coach Davis, thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, what's up, Justin? Glad to be here. Appreciate you having me on. Always good to talk to another Blazer, and definitely want to promote the region as much as we can because it's a great region.
Yeah, I mean, let's just kind of talk about your experience with the region in the first place. I mean, Vincennes enters that in the 2012-2013 school year. What was your life kind of before that? Because you were already a member of the Blazing coaching staff before I was even involved.
Yeah, my first 5 years, or 5+ actually, probably first 7 years, we would go up to Maryland and New York and things like that for the postseason. And I know when we weren't in the league, we had to schedule 30 games a season because we had no league games that were built in. So scheduling 30 games was extremely difficult. And then, you play your postseason in Maryland at Hagerstown or Allegheny, and some in New York. So not ideal for travel. Obviously, you don't really know those teams very well throughout the year like you do when you play in a league and you play everybody twice. When you get to the tournament, you got a pretty good idea on the personnel and what they're going to do. Playing those teams from Maryland and New York, you really had no idea. And it was kind of a different setup and a long trip out there. So when I started out without the league, I didn't like that as much as I do now with the league, and you get some rivalries and kind of know the coaches and the teams a lot better.
And one of the biggest reasons I think that we joined that league was because of head coach Todd Franklin being on the coaching staff. Like you said, your first 5 years you weren't in the league. So what kind of guy is Coach Franklin, first of all?
Oh yeah, coach is great. I mean, he's one of the best to ever do it. Very knowledgeable on the game. Has seen and done everything, through his years at Vincennes and Southeastern Illinois, and even before that. And it's great to go into every game and every situation knowing that if we lose, it's not going to be because we weren't prepared or ready to go. Coach works the guys extremely hard in practice, and then also does a really great job of focusing on the academics and how they carry themselves and how they are in the community and things like that, because we want to make sure that they're good guys and have their bachelor degree when they leave here at their next school, and get jobs, have families, and are good people, and more than just the year or two we have them at VU and in the basketball part. So coach does a great job of that. And then obviously basketball wise, he's not in the Hall of Fame by accident. Won a lot of games and been to Hutch, a million times, and obviously won the championship in 2019, and had, we feel like 2 or 3 other teams that had a really good chance at, if the ball bounces another way. So coach has been great.
Yeah, I mean, 2019, that magical year, they finally get that 4th championship. We had some good years there with Deshaun Delaney, Darius Carter, just not being able to get it over the hill. Talking about what you do, you kind of set up one of the better days that's not a Hutch week in the Jamborees. You had your VU Jamboree on October 8th, and then you participated in the Midwest Jamboree over in Carbondale, Illinois. Kind of explain what goes into preparing not only your players, but to make sure that that event itself runs smoothly.
Yeah, I'm kind of in charge of our Jamboree. This is my 19th year here. So have done it a number of times, but we have 28 teams. some of the top junior college and prep schools throughout the country, and then we've had some from Canada. But it's three scrimmages for us to kind of kick things going. It's always the second weekend in October to get three games and kind of see what we look like against some other competition. We've had most of our guys here for 5 weeks in the summer, and then they're here in August and September doing workouts and stuff. So by October, they're ready to play against somebody else and play in front of some people. And we have a lot of Division I and Division II NAIA coaches come out and watch our guys and our team and kind of see who they like and things like that. So there's a lot that goes into it. We have 7 courts going at once. Every team plays 3 games. Obviously, they don't want to play teams they played during the regular season. So scheduling is not always the easiest, trying to get them good competition, but yet not play somebody in their league. But we feel like we've done a pretty good job with that, and it's went, pretty smoothly and successfully. But that's, with all the, that's, kudos to all the teams that are coming and they make the event, and the officials and everybody that helps make it run smoothly, because it's a lot of people that go into that.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts, especially, you guys play, then you're off for an hour, and then you play again. You got a scrimmage coming up Friday, or October 27th against Stanville area. That's a team that you guys played last year in the regular season. What do you guys expect out of that scrimmage?
Well, Coach Gerard has a great program at Danville. I want to say they got beat in the national championship game last year in Division II, or at least we're in the Final Four, but I think they were in the championship game. I just saw their preseason number 15 in the country for Division II a couple of days ago when that came out on Monday. And he does a great job. I know they don't have a lot of guys back from last year's team, but they've done very well so far. I know they had a jamboree at their place. They were in our jamboree, and I think won all their games. And then I know they've scrimmaged Henry Ford and some other good teams. So they're going to be tough. It's our last scrimmage before the official season begins November 3rd and 4th for the Kiwanis. So it's our last dress rehearsal against somebody else. And they always play hard. They're always tough. And they're, like I said, I think they won 29 games last year. So they're used to winning. That's what we want. We want to be pushed in October in our jamboree, in the Midwest Jamboree. And then with Danville, we want to be prepared, because when the season starts, we have a lot of really tough opponents in our league and then non-conference. So it's good to our guys to play that type of competition.
Yeah, Coach Franklin always mentions when he does the scheduling that he wants the best of the competitions. You guys have that opening up against Schoolcraft College and then Columbia State, which has kind of turned into a non-conference, non-region rivalry between you guys. They always come in for the Kiwanis, at least the last 4 or 5 years. They've been able to hold it. And then Daly, Monroe, Kankakee Community, Malcolm X, Indian Hills, State Fair, Moberly area, just in the month of November alone. And then you hit arguably one of the toughest districts. So what kind of I know he always says he wants the best of the best, and you got that here in this preseason.
Yeah, there's no easy games. We have probably as many or very close to as many Division I opponents as anybody in the country. We don't have very many, if any, games that you think are going to be easy. You got to be ready every night. And I know Indian Hills, we play twice. I think was 14th in the poll. I know we play at Moberly in their classic. They're ranked 20th. We have Monroe's 25th. Obviously Logan in the regular season is the defending national champions. I think they were 4th. And then you have Columbia State that's been to Hutch a number of times, Southwest Tennessee, Kankakee, and then even some of the other teams that maybe don't have as many trips to Hutch and things like that are still very capable and have programs, good coaches. So we're going to have to be ready for sure. And everybody's going to give us their best bet. Nobody's going to overlook Vincennes, so they're going to be ready to play, and we better be ready as well.
Yeah, you mentioned the polling coming out on Monday, October 23rd. It's the 25th as we're recording this, but you guys are ranked number 6. Last year, when I released this preseason episode, I kind of dogged on the NJCAA because they had you guys in the receiving votes while Logan was not even mentioned, with you guys having a losing record. Kind of explain what the last couple of years at VU has been due to like COVID and all that stuff when it comes to like recruiting, because Coach Franklin finally said last year that you guys were back to normal.
Yeah, COVID, affected everybody. I know it really affected us because we couldn't really uh, do maybe our due diligence on some of the stuff with recruiting and have guys in and see them in person and do some of the things that we normally do. And I think we had the down year there. That wasn't typical for us. We had it rolling pretty good. When we won in 19, and we had we feel like a really good chance to repeat in 2020 with Craig Porter and Kevin Osawe and Colton Sandage and all those guys back from the year before, and then the tournament gets canceled right before we were going out there, and then it just kind of changed how we could do things. We couldn't have guys in for the summer and do workouts for 5 weeks, and we're not a junior college that takes tons of transfers, or we kind of build our program up from freshmen and have a lot of those guys back, and then they're typically better as sophomores, and we just couldn't see a lot of these guys in person, and it just a weird year all around. And even the half season was kind of weird when we started in January and there's no fans. And then that following year, it was, we had a number of guys leave right before, the first game. And it was just a weird period. But I think now, winning 30 games last year and having 6 guys back that played off that team and a red shirt that we like a lot, I think we're back to normal.
Yeah, one of those guys that are coming back is going to be Michael Osei-Bonsu. Him and the King twins should be like the most experience of your guys coming back. What have you guys seen kind of from the twins and from Michael?
Michael's, just a very unique player. There's not a lot of guys like him in basketball today, so we're going to try to take advantage of that. He's maybe 6'4", 265 pounds, and just big time motor, physical. Just play so hard, rebounds. When he gets it down there one-on-one, he's hard to stop. We're banking on not a lot of teams are going to have guys physically like him, and then Kareem Dixon next to him, who's 6'5", 230, who's a lot like George Dixon we had on the team. So those two guys look like football players. And we're going to hope that the way a lot of teams play now, where they don't have as many post-up guys and as physical guys, that we can take advantage of that. I think Kareek's improved a lot. Didn't play a whole lot last year, but I think him with Mike inside should be a pretty good duo. And then the King twins, Chris had the better of the year of the two last year, and he can play kind of inside out at the 3 and the 4, and just does a little bit of everything. 6'5", 210, and can put on the floor, can hit a pull up, can knock down a 3, can post up. And then Kent has a lot of similar things. We'll play him a little bit at the point, 1, 2, 3, 4, and does some of the things that Chris does, and didn't probably have quite the year that he wanted individually last year. But I think, he's matured and gotten better and worked hard, and we're expecting a big year out of Kent as well. And then you have Ryan Oliver, who was a part-time starter at the 2 last year, that can play the 2-3, who's 6'3", can guard the ball, can slash, can knock down a shot. Just a very consistent guy, brings it every day. And then you have Victor Lato, who didn't play a whole lot last year behind Shiloh and Mike, who's 6'7", 230, that we're trying to get him to be a little bit more physical and post up a little bit more and use his body and some of the skills that he has. So, we got 6 guys back that were all part of it last year, and we lost some pretty good players, but that's the norm in JUCO. And, we're hoping those sophomores can really lead us this year.
Yeah, one of those players that you guys lost was Shiloh Jackson. He kind of stepped into a leadership role just from the outside looking in. What do you expect of kind of when you lose that type of leadership, especially in the second half and going into the hutch, that these next guys, that the freshmen kind of step up?
Well, we, between Shiloh and Tassos Cook was
Yeah, that's
very
another one.
at the point guard position. He was probably, if not our hardest worker, he was right there and kind of the leader and vocal leader. It was a D1 transfer for us at point guard who was really good, who's at Campbell now, Division I. And then you have Caleb Johnson, who's 6'5", athletic slasher, leading scorer, who's at Jacksonville State, who was a very good player. And like I said, Shiloh inside, who was 6'9", and could dunk on you and block a shot and do some stuff inside. And then you had Trenton Johnson, who was a part-time start at the 2, and Devon White, who was kind of an undersized 4-man. That's 5 guys that were good players and really contributed. And especially statistically with Tassos, Caleb, and Shiloh, it's hard to replace, those guys. And they're all good guys and doing well at their 4-year schools. So that's where, some of the freshmen need to step up and take their spot. And then all the sophomores that jump between your freshman and sophomore season, now you got to be a leader. You got to be the guy. You can't be just the freshman that's playing along those guys. You got to get it done. So we've been pretty pleased so far with that sophomore group.
Now, going into league play, you mentioned it. You got Logan, defending national champions, which I still find kind of comical that the 2 times that the NJCAA has been on national television, somebody from the Central District are crowned champions. Obviously, you guys, 2019 when it was on CBS Sports. Logan, this past season when it was on ESPNU. This district also looks a lot different than when I was there. When we first entered it, it was an 11-team league. We made team 11. We've lost a couple of those teams, and now it's down to an 8-team league now.
I know Lewis and Clark went Division II. I'd have to count it up, 9 or 10, I think. Yeah, I'd have to look at it.
Yeah, I think we lost Lewis and Clark, and then we lost Southeastern.
Yeah, Southeastern's like a club team now. Yeah, I forgot about that.
So what kind of landscape do we see coming out of the league? I mean, Logan's probably going to be the favorite. Then you got SWIC and Wabash are always tough opponents.
Yeah, I think our league is vastly underrated nationally. Just look at it. Last year we had 2 of the final 8. I know out at Hutch, us and Logan, have been some of the top teams. I know Coach Hancock and Kaskaskia had a really good team a couple of years ago out there. We've had, Wabash has won national titles, and like I said, SWIC's always good. I don't want to leave anybody out. All the programs, in the league have good coaches and good teams and good players. And I don't think, people nationally understand how good, a lot of these teams are for whatever reason. But, we certainly don't overlook anybody in our league and know that any night we play in our Central District, it's going to be a tough game when you go to Olney and Coach Glash or Lincoln Trail or Lakeland or Shawnee or, like I said, don't want to leave anybody out. Every game's tough. So we certainly have great respect for our league and the coaching and the players, and know that it's one of the tops in the country. And I think that's why we do so well when we get out to Kansas, because we've been tested night in and night out. We've had a number of Final Four teams and championship team and things like that, Elite 8. And it's because we've played really good teams night in and night out. So it didn't surprise me that Logan won it last year. And if we could have made a few more baskets against Northwest Florida, we might have had a chance. We would have been in the Final Four, and then who knows? But hats off to them. They got it done and knocked us out, but we still won 30 games and had a heck of a season. So that's what we're trying to do again this year.
Yeah, and again, Coach, I really appreciate you coming on here, just talking about the district in all its glory. Like I said before, last year I tried to do this, and it was just a lot of me talking heads. So it's really nice to have somebody from the outside perspective kind of come in here and talk. So I really appreciate.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Hopefully, we'll get a lot of coaches from the league come on and do this podcast with you this year. It's good to promote the league, and you did a great job, keeping everybody up to date with everything. And then on, I guess it's called X now, but with the brackets and things and the standings, and, and the more, guys like you and, have been a part of it and stuff, can promote the league and promote the players and teams and stuff, maybe that'll get us some more notoriety nationally, and which never hurts.
Yeah, I'll just have to correct you on that. I was just taking what Nick Nielsen always does with his bracketology bubble for the brackets. But I do appreciate it, Coach, and thank you so much for coming on. I will go ahead and jump into the previews of the season coming up next. Again, I wanted to thank Coach Brian Davis for sitting down with me and talking about the district as we get ready to jump into regular season play. And I know he's very busy. The whole district's very busy, so I appreciate any time that he has to sit down and discuss it with me. Speaking of, let's go ahead and jump into the preview of this year's district, starting with the national defending champions, the John A. Logan Volunteers. Logan comes into the season after a fantastic campaign last year, finishing 35-2, beating Vincennes in the district championship game and Northwest Florida State in the national championship. Like I mentioned in the interview, kind of weird that the two times it was on national TV, a team from the district wins it. Vincennes in 2019 and Logan this year. They finished with an impressive 31 straight victories. So they finished 35-2, 31 straight. So they were 4-2, and they just rolled the entire year, 18-0 in the district championship. Here's how they got there. They averaged 85.9 points per game, 51.3% shooting from the field, 42.4% from three, and 72.4% from the free throw line. They are losing 4 key players, though. They're losing James Dent, Kurt Lewis, Kumari Peterson, and Isaiah Stafford, both top scorers, all in double digits points per game, and they're only returning 3. Rajon Bardo, who averaged 1.1, Grant Jones, who didn't see a lot of playing time, and Elliot Ladowns, who averaged 3.6% points per game. They do open up this season November 3rd against Mineral Area, and then again November 4th against Three Rivers. So Coach Tyler Smith-Peters not pulling any punches on their return to hope. Let's go ahead and head to the second team, and that is going to be the Kaskaskia Blue Devils. Coach Brian Hancock enters his 16th year overall, 279-173. He is returning Caleb Jenkins, who averaged 8.4 points per game. He is losing Emmanuel Prosper, who scored 10.8. Jalen Petty, who was their top leading scorer with 13.7%. Sorry. That honor, top scorer, goes to J.E.R. Jones, which 16.9 points per game. And then Xavier Jackson, 10.4. So again, 4 players that Coach Hancock is losing in double figures. They finished 19-12 this year, lost to Olney in the quarterfinal of the district, 72-71, very close game. And they're not returning, like I said, they're only returning Caleb Jenkins, who averaged 8.4%. They average 81.9 points per game, shooting 48.1% from the field, 36.9 from 3, and 70.9 from the free throw line. So overall, a very good shooting team. Coach Hancock always has those good shooting teams, always being able to beat you either on the wing or down low. It is always difficult to play Kaskaskia. As Coach Davis said, anybody in this league is difficult now. So if I don't mention that throughout the video, I apologize. Like Coach Davis, I don't want to miss anybody, but I do want to say that Coach Hancock, I do remember those games always being very, very tough. They open up their season November 2nd against Missouri Baptist and November 4th against Brescia. The next team is going to be the Lakeland Lakers. Coach Julian Larry entering his 4th year, 39-44 overall. Lakeland, again, losing 4 top scorers that were in double digits. Johnny Close, averaging 14.1%. Dallas Cox, 12.4%. Yassine Hassan, one of the more fun names to say this year, at 12.7 points per game. And Amar Kujulovic, 12.2% points per game. They are returning Aaron Davis, who averaged 5.1 points per game, and Tyler Chapman, who averaged 4.8%. Last year they finished 17-15, lost to VU in the quarterfinal 79-67. They beat Lincoln Trail to get to that quarterfinal 94-64, and that was a play-in game that was hosted at Lakeland. For the season, they averaged 79.6% points per game, 44.8% shooting from the field, 32.5% of it from behind the arc, and 71.8% as a free throw shooting team. They only have one game coming up this week. It is November 1st, so this video will come out probably Monday, October 30th. So November 1st, Wednesday, Southeastern Illinois, which, as I talked to Coach Davis in the interview, used to be in the district, kind of a club team now. So good luck to Coach Larry and the Lakeland Lakers. Let's go ahead and jump into a team that always seems to find themselves underperforming by their standards, but overall a very tough team, especially late in the season, and that is going to be the Lincoln Trail Statesmen. Coach Cotton entering his third year, 26-33 at Lincoln Trail. I believe this is his second stint, according to Dave Hunter. He was the coach at the Trail from 2005-2010, 67-90, those years. Last year they finished 12-19. They are losing key players such as Greg Jennings, averaging 13.7 points per game, Clint Wycliffe, 15.8%, and Chris Felix Jr., 11.6 points per game. Chris Felix Jr. was a freshman this last season, so kind of sad to see him go, but hopefully he does well in his endeavors. Again, Lincoln Trail, always tough, but this year, like I said, they finished 12-19. They lost 10 in a row. And they lost some really weird games, including a 30-point loss to Lakeland in that play-in game. But you can, going by the points per game and field goal percentage, you can kind of see why. They only scored 69.2 points per game, shooting 43.5% from the field, 35% from behind the arc, and 71.7% free throws. Hopefully this year they get better at the points per game. They were in a lot of low-scoring games this year. They don't return anybody this year, so Coach Cotton has a full set of new teams, so learning curve is going to be a little bit there. They do open up against a tough opponent November 1st against Kankakee College, and then November 4th against Brescia JV. The Olney Central Blue Knights, again, a team that Coach Davis and I talked about, always tough to play, especially in that dungeon. Really difficult to play there. Coach Jim Glash entering his second stint. He was the coach from 1996 to 2005. Overall record of 160 and 120 in those years. Olney is losing a lot of scoring, but they're also returning quite a bit of scoring as well. They're losing their top scorer, Marshawn Dickerson, 20.2 points per game, and Galvin Gilstrap, 10.1 points per game. They are returning Deshaun Sims, 11.4 points per game, Darian Lewis, 11 points per game, and Javicio Thomas, 9.8 points per game. Last year they finished 19-11, beating Kaskaskia in the quarterfinals, as I mentioned, 72-71. Lost to Logan in the semis, 74-63. Overall for the year they averaged 77 points per game, shot 44.1% from the field, 34% from 3, and 70% from the free throws. So Coach Glash again proving that his team can move the ball and shoot well like Olney has always been able to do. They open up the season November 1st against Indiana Elite Prep and November 4th against Weber Wright. A team that is always fun to watch unless you're playing them, and that is the Shawnee Saints. Again, you can say that about all these teams, especially the next couple that I have coming up here. As Coach Davis said, again, never underestimate any of these opponents. They're always tough.
But the Shawnee Saints, led by Coach John Sparks, entering his 21st year, overall 296 and 184. This year he is losing a lot of scoring as well, like we can say for a lot of these teams. But he's losing A.K. Hazley, who averaged 15.9 points per game. Ashton Young, 12.5 points per game. And Jay Moore, who was a 9.8 points per game scorer. However, they are returning Miles Lemon, who scored 7.3 points per game. Kyler McIntosh, 2 points per game. Robert Stafford, 1.4 points per game. Jamel Grisby, 3.7 points per game. And Trevian Thomas, 6.9 points per game. So, yeah, they're losing your double-digit scores, but you're getting a good leader in Miles Lemon. And for them, this was a weird last year. They opened up the season only having 5 or 7 players due to injuries, and they battled through it. They finished 11-18. They lost to Lewis and Clark in the play-in, 78-68. And like I said, this was just a weird year for Coach Sparks. Shawnee averaged 67.9 points per game, shooting 41.5% from the field, 31.2% from the three. They're a lot better than that normally, historically, especially under Coach Sparks, and shooting 66.7 percent from the free throw line. They have the most games entering the first weekend, 3. They start off November 1st against SEMO Prep. Then they will head to Vincennes for the Kiwanis Classic again this year. This is where I learned that they only had about 7 players last year. They will face Columbia State November 3rd and Schoolcraft College on November 4th. Let's go ahead and jump into easily either the first or the second most difficult opponent for the Trailblazers when I was there. Logan, Olney, and SWIC, Southwestern Illinois College. Always difficult to face them, especially at their place in Belleville, Illinois. Boy. And we can see why, as Jay Harrington is the lead of that place. He has the court named after him, rightfully so. He's a Hall of Fame coach, 46th year at SWIC, 865 and 533 in his 46th year, at SWIC. Easily the most wins out of all of these coaches. He's been doing it for forever. Always has a tough team, like I said, and it shows this year. He finished 21-11 this year. He does lose a lot of good players, including Jaquez Franklin, 14 points per game. Noah Courtney, 11.1 points per game. Dre Boyd, 10.9 points per game. And Jaden Lawrence, 9 points per game. But it doesn't really matter because he always reloads. And it's always frustrating because you always think, oh, maybe this year SWIC's going to have a down year. And it never happens, especially on the road. Again, Belleville. Don't know what it is. He does return Saxon Hopekeeper, who averaged 3.6 points per game, and Nesby Markham, 1.3 points per game there. He does get a couple big transfers, especially one coming from Highland Community College. But yeah, last year finished 21-11, beat Wabash Valley, who we'll talk about at the end of the video, 71-64 in the quarterfinals, lost to Vincennes 66-59 in the semifinals. Overall for the year, averaged 74.6 points per game, 45.2 shooting from the field, 29% from 3, 65% from the free throw. And you go, how does Coach Harrington have that type of record with shooting so poorly from behind the arc and at the free throw strike? Here's where he gets you. He out-rebounds you. They averaged 36.6 rebounds per game last year. They don't play this weekend. They won't play until November 8th against Mineral Area, and I will get deeper into that next week. All right, so let's go ahead and just quickly go over the Vincennes Trailblazers, which are the next team. A lot of it's already been said in that interview with Coach Davis, so I'm not going to harp on anything too badly. They finished 30-6 this year, losing to Logan in the district championship game, 73-66. They actually led most of that game too, so a couple of different bounces, and Vincennes is winning the district instead of Logan, but is what it is. They were the last at-large team selected to go to Hutch last year, which turned out to be a good thing because they beat a Trinity Valley team 70-57. They had probably one of the bigger upsets, if not the biggest upset in Hutch last year, beating College of Southern Idaho 75-70 before losing to Northwest Florida State 68-55 in the quarterfinals. So an Elite Eight team there for Coach Franklin, Coach Davis, and the Blazers. Last year they shot okay. I mean, they shot better in some areas from the season before. Some areas they shot worse in. 79.1 points per game, 47.3% shooting from the field, 32.2% from three. That's up from the year previous, and 70.9 from the free throw stripe, which I know irks Coach Franklin a ton. Coach Davis too. Again, you might say, how do you put up a 30-6 record and beat probably one of the better teams in the country in CSI with shooting that poorly from behind the arc and the charity stripe? Well, you shoot almost 50% from the field, and Coach Franklin likes to go inside out with that, obviously, like we talked with Coach Davis. Also, you average 40 rebounds a game. That's how you do it. That is Coach Franklin's way of playing the game. It's the old school way, and it seems to still work here. I mean, 30 wins is nothing to scoff at. He's another Hall of Fame coach. So, again, something to really look at here. They open up this year against Schoolcroft in the Kiwanis Invitational, Kiwanis Classic on November 3rd, and they play, again, somebody who Coach Davis and I talked about is more like a rivalry coming up in Columbia State on November 4th. Last but not least, the Wabash Valley Warriors in the district. Under first-year head coach Terrence McGee, they are returning one player, Brandon Razor Moore, who averaged 11.9 points per game last year. They are losing a lot in the scoring department. Jacoby Hetty, 18.9 points per game. Gary Clay, 15 points per game. Keshawn Casey, 12.7. Jalen Boyd, 7.5, and it goes on and on. They are getting some transfers in. A lot of transfers in, actually. So it's going to be interesting to see what Coach McGee can do. Again, Wabash Valley, always a tough place to play at their place. When I was there, we were really able to handle them at our place, but that takes nothing because we had different coaches that we had a battle up against. So, yeah, last year they finished 17-13, lost to SWIC in the quarterfinals, 71-61. Last year they averaged 79 points per game. They shot really well from the field at 48.6%, 36.1% from behind the arc, and shot 72.1% from the free throw line. Again, they were able to also have 35.4 rebounds per game. So, again, Coach McGee, I don't really know a lot about him. I am hoping to have him on and talk to him more, get to know him as I am hoping to get to know. Let me go ahead and go through, or let me say this again. November 1st, the Warriors will open up against Triton before on November 4th going to Moran Valley to open up the season again. Coach Davis said it best. I really hope that all these coaches are able to sit down with me at some point in the season. I've emailed most of them. I don't think I got Coach McGee's email, though. I will reach out to him later on in the year. They all have an open invite to to sit down and talk to me. I hope they do, because like I said, I don't want to just have this be a talking head or this turn into a Vincennes podcast. I might get some of the players or some of the people behind the scenes as well, like Nick Nielsen. If I'm able to get him, that would be a huge gift for me. Able to talk about what he does, JUCO weekly and all that stuff. But again, I want to say that there's an open invite for Coach McGee, Coach Franklin, although I'll probably hold off on him just because I've already talked to Coach Davis, and again, don't want to make this a Vincennes thing. Coach Harrington, Coach Sparks, Coach Glash, Coach Cotton, Coach Larry, Coach Hancock, obviously, and Coach Tyler Smith-Peters. All have an open invite. If they're too busy, I'll sit down with the assistant coach and talk to them too. It's just about getting this out there and making sure that people put some respect on the district, because I think this is a really good district. I really enjoyed my time with this district. Like I said last year, it was fun for me to do this. I hope to have it a lot better this year. Thank you guys for the first episode, and I will see you in the next one.